Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful philosophy of personal safety, and it's one that begins not with your fists, but with your mind. It's all about a massive shift in how we think about self-defense, moving from just reacting to being truly ready. You know, this fight for personal safety isn't new. Way back, over a century ago, Susan B. Anthony said that women must be taught to protect herself. And that idea, it perfectly frames the problem that, honestly, we're still wrestling with today. This isn't about refusing help. It's about claiming the basic right to be your own protector.
But here's the thing, and it's a tough pill to swallow. For the last 3 decades, even with all the social campaigns and new laws, the numbers on violence against women just haven't budged. The old ways of thinking, which mostly focused on making an aggressor's reward smaller, they just haven't worked.
So, if changing the reward doesn't work, what's left? Well, you have to flip the script. You have to change the risk. The mental math that an attacker does has to be completely upended.
And that's the core idea behind a program called CORE, in an initiative known as #500Rising. The goal isn't to walk around scared, but to live with a certain capability that turns you into a hard target. Basically, someone who an aggressor looks at and thinks, nope, not worth the risk.
And it all kicks off with just one number, 500. And trust me, it's not some random number. It's the seed, the spark, for a huge social shift.
So, 500 Rising, what's that about? Well, their first big goal is to train 500 women. But here's the twist. They're not just training them to defend themselves, they're training them to become instructors. And that creates this incredible ripple effect, a whole network of capable women teaching other women.
And this is the grand strategy, where it gets really interesting. When just 1 in 100 women are trained and capable, the perception of every woman starts to change. Assault stops being a low-risk crime. The big idea is that when enough women are seen as dangerous, the whole dynamic of assault starts to shift for everybody.
All right, so how do you actually become a hard target? Well, it doesn't start in a gym or on a training mat. Nope, it starts right up here, between your ears. It starts with awareness.
And the very first tool, the one you're already equipped with, is your intuition. The security expert Gavin DeBecker has a great name for it, the gift of fear. It's that little voice, that gut feeling that just tells you something is off. The real trick is learning to listen to it and then actually acting on it.
Threat assessment, it's just a fancy way of saying you're taking that gut feeling and turning it into a conscious thought process. It means you actually turn and look when you hear a strange noise. You're not being paranoid, you're just being present and aware of what's going on around you.
You know, when things get intense, our brains have a little system for making decisions fast. It's called the OODA loop. First, you observe something in your environment. Then you orient yourself. What does it mean? Then you decide what you're going to do. And finally, you act. The faster you can run through that cycle, the safer you are.
And here's the magic of practice. It's not really about learning to fight. It's about making that loop run faster and faster. I mean, think about a pro baseball player facing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. They're already starting their swing before the ball even leaves the pitcher's hand. They're not thinking, they're reacting. Training rewires your brain to do the exact same thing.
Okay, so you're aware. What's next? Well, before anything gets physical, there's almost always a moment, an interaction, where you get to draw a line in the sand. And this is where you use another incredibly powerful tool, your voice.
And you have to understand this timeline. It's so important. The absolute best case scenario, the #1 win, is avoidance, just not being there in the first place. If that's not possible, you move down the line. You try to de-escalate. Then you set a clear boundary, and only then, as a total last resort, do you get to physical defense.
Okay, this slide is fascinating, right? It's all about the words you use. A beta command is like a polite request. Please don't stand so close to me. It's nice, but it's also really easy to argue with or just ignore. An alpha command, though, that's different. You're too close. Back up. It's not a suggestion. It's a direct, clear instruction. There's no room for interpretation.
And really, it all boils down to this. You don't owe anyone an explanation or an apology for your boundaries. No, that's it. That's the whole sentence. Learning to say that and really mean it is maybe one of the most important self-defense skills there is.
All right, well, what happens when all that fails? What if you can't talk your way out of it and a physical confrontation is happening? Well, the philosophy here isn't about memorizing 100 different moves for 100 different situations. It's about something way more flexible.
Because let's be real, this is the biggest problem with a lot of self-defense classes. Real violence is pure chaos. It's messy, it's unpredictable. That perfect move you practice for a specific grab, it's probably not going to happen exactly that way on the street.
So instead of trying to memorize 1,000 techniques, the focus shifts to a few core principles. Think of these as the laws of physics that apply to every single human body. Structure, balance, leverage. These things always work, no matter how chaotic the situation gets.
And that's the absolute game changer right there. When you understand the principles, the why behind what works, you can improvise. It's like knowing how to cook versus just following a recipe. You can create solutions on the fly for problems you've never even seen before. And finally, we have to talk about what happens after. Because self-defense doesn't just end when the physical threat is gone. It's also about how you recover, how you process what happened, and how you build yourself back even stronger.
This is such a powerful psychological tool. It's called reframing. And it's not about denying what happened. Not at all. It's about changing the story you tell yourself. You shift from being a victim that something happened to being the hero of your own story, the one who endured, who fought back, and who survived. And that really brings us right back to where we started. All the skills, all the techniques, the awareness, they're all built on top of one single powerful belief. The deep-down conviction that you are worth defending.
But here's the thing about that belief. You don't just wake up with it one day. You build it. You forge it. Every single time you do something that's hard for you, you're laying another brick in that foundation. You're building the kind of resilience that real safety is made of. So my question to you is, what's one hard thing you can do today?